Bearing is a machine element that constrains its relative motion to only on the desired motion and reduce friction between moving parts. The design of the bearing may, for example, provide for free linear movement of the moving part or a free rotation around a fixed axis, or it may prevent motion by controlling the vector of normal forces that bear on the moving part.
Okay, I want to continue presentation. Scope manufacturing bearing. This research discusses the maintenance used in the manufacture of bearing, carried out according to the scope of the study set. The following is the scope of the case study. Okay, first, system maintenance. 2. Maintenance strategy. 3. Maintenance planning and scheduling. 4. Cost factory.
Now I want to present about the importance of choosing right bearing, component and material. The number one is load. A bearing must be able to handle the anticipated pressure and weight. Number two is speed. Machine operating at high speed must have speed dedicated bearing able to withstand the extra force. Number three is temperature. A ball bearing need to be able have the right space to allow for thermal expansion and the resulting friction heat. Number 4 is sealing. The sealing of the bearing is crucial to maintaining lubricant level and decreasing debris infiltration within the bearing component and material. Number 5 is maintenance. The right ball bearing or roller bearing will have the maintenance requirement that match and exceed the maintenance program in operation.
Okay, application of maintenance system in the selected company. Bearing monitor. Bearing monitor is an instrument that checks the condition of bearing and gives a warning of any abnormality, or it stops a machine automatically in order to prevent serious trouble. In addition, it helps to improve maintenance and reduce its cost. In order to maintain the original performance of a bearing as long as possible, proper maintenance and inspection should be performed. In general, if rolling bearings are used correctly, they will survive to their predicted fatigue life.
Now I want to share about different types of bearing material, and number one is carbon steel bearing, also called commercial grade. A carbon steel is not a stainless steel, is that it instead features a carbon element of up to 2.1% in weight. Number two is chrome steel bearing. Another type of steel bearing is the chrome steel bearing, and it is one of the most prominent types of bearing component and material due to the affordable cost. And number three is stainless steel bearing. The final steel material used to create industry suitable bearing is stainless steel. Number 4 is ceramic bearing. Ceramic bearing are manufactured to produce a highly non-corrosive and durable bearing which two rings of ceramic and a fluorine resin retainer. Number 5 is polymer plastic bearing, which they are porous material. Polymer plastic bearing often have high temperature range and naturally low friction properties, meaning no lubricant is needed. Number 6 is hybrid bearing. Lastly, hybrid bearing is manufactured with the best practice in mind. Now I want to share about 6 common types of bearing. Number 1 is plain bearing, consisting of a shaft rotating in a hole. There are several specific styles: bushing, journal bearing, sleeve bearing, riffle bearing, and composite bearing. Number 2 is rolling element bearing, in which rolling element placed between the turning and stationary rails prevent sliding friction. There are 2 main types. Number 1 is ball bearing, in which the rolling elements are spherical balls. Number 2 is roller bearing, in which the rolling elements are spherical, taper, and spherical roller.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Asmira Mita Jufri. My metric number 14DKM19F1052. Now I want to continue the part of propose and plan the suitable maintenance approach procedure to overcome the problem that can minimize cost or can increase the profit in the bearing. Many bearings require preventive maintenance to prevent premature failure, but many others require little maintenance. The latter include various polymer bearings as well as rolling elements bearing that are described with terms including salad bearing and salad for life. These contain seal to keep the threads out and the grease in. They work successfully in many applications, providing maintenance-free operation. Some applications cannot use them effectively. Maintenance bearings often have a grease fitting for periodic lubrication, which a grease can, or an oil cup for periodic filling with oil. Industry relied on many workers colored oiler to lubricate machining, frequently with oil cans. Factory machines today usually have loop system in which a central pump serves periodic charge of oil or grease from a reservoir through loops line to the various loop points in the machining bearing surface, bearing journals, and pillow blocks. 1. Packing. Some bearings use a thick grease for lubrication, which is pushed into the gaps between the bearing surface, also known as packing. The grease is held in place by plastic, leather, or rubber casted covering the bearing rest to keep the grease from escaping. 2. Ring oiler. Bearings can be lubricated by metal rings that rides loosely on the central rotating shaft of the bearings. The rings hangs down into a cover containing lubricating oils. As the bearing rotates, viscous adhesion draws oil up the rings and onto the shaft where the oil migrates. 3 is splash lubrication. A rudimentary form of lubrication is splash lubrications. Some machines contain a pool of lubrication in the bottom, which cures particular immersion in the liquids or cracked rods that can swing down into the pool as the device operates. The spinning wheels filling all into the air around them. 4 is pressure lubrication. For high-speed and high-power machines, a loss of lubricant can result in rapid bearing heating and damage due to friction. Also, in dirty environments, the oil can become contaminated with dust or debris that increase friction. In this application, a fresh supply of lubricant can be continuously supplied, and complete internal combustion engines in part of the engine where directly splashed oil cannot reach, such as up into the overhead valve especially. High-speed turbochargers also typically requires a pressurized oil system to cool the bearings and keep them from burning up due to the heat from the turbine. 5. Composite bearing. Composite bearings are designed with a self-lubricating polyurethane PTFE liner with a laminate metal backing. The PTFE liner offers consistent control friction as well as durability, with the metal backing ensure the composite bearing is robust and capable of withstanding height loads and stress throughout its long life. Its design also makes it lightweight, 1/10 the height weight of the traditional rolling element bearing.
As a conclusion, the bearing serves to reduce friction and allow for smoother rotation. This cuts down on the amount of energy consumption. Therefore, bearings are used in a lot different mechanical devices and very important to make different application durable, noiseless, and efficient, because bearings are used almost everything and almost everywhere in our life.
Reference from this case study, we have find the many information at books and also at internet. So we have many information that briefly about this NSK company. Thank you.